talked before, like out on the playground,
Right.
about what's your oldest son?
Wesley.
Wesley.
His path sounds a lot like what Abby's, because, and especially like the self-advocacy, because he went to East in 3rd and 4th grade. We did a subject advancement, so he was doing some 5th grade work, but he was in with his 4th grade class most of the time. And I thought, it's probably going just fine. And I was mentally all set. 5th grade's next, but he's going to do 6th grade work. Yeah. And I've got 2 kids at East Elementary. We're just moving right along. Everything's we have a plan. And
you had a plan.
I had a plan. Yes. So then I sort of my annual routine with the kids was, hey, it's about the 1st of August. We have this many weeks before school starts. Are there any things you're really wanting to do? Do you want to do a day trip somewhere with mom or dad? Or are there things you want to do before you go back to school? And my 10-year-old said to me, well, I guess I should decide whether I'm going to go to school or be homeschooled this year. And I'm like, we should probably talk about that. And he had been thinking about it. Okay. And he had known that going back to the classroom setting was not what was the right fit for him. Mm-hmm. And even though he hadn't complained or said, I'm not happy here, he knew, and he just waited until about 2 weeks before school started to tell me, well, I guess I should decide this. And so we switched back to homeschooling, and when we did placement testing for our curriculum that we ordered for homeschooling, he skipped 5th grade and we went 6th grade. And then in 7th and 8th grade, he was a homeschool student, but at that time at the middle school, he could go to the middle school and take 1 or 2 classes. Yeah. And so he did woodworking at the middle school, and he did algebra at the middle school, and he took a science class, but no more than 2 classes. Okay. And he would just pick the ones that he thought would be interesting. Okay. And then we would do the rest through homeschool. Yeah. And then he took the ACT when he was 12 so that he could start taking college classes. Okay. And then the fall that he was 13, he started taking classes at OU, like in class. He was the little kid with, he was barely 13 years old.
Did he go by himself?
He did. Yes. Wow. He took physics. Here
Abby's taking physics right now online. Yeah.
And he was he also, like, his friends from our time homeschooling were mostly 3, 4, 5 years older. Mm-hmm. And those were the people that he were his close friends, and they still are. Yeah. And so they've stayed friends, and he has the need to get together with his friends a little bit, but he has a very strong need, and he's aware of it and recognizes it, just to have his own time. And he's I'm really proud of his ability to recognize and advocate for his own needs, because that's something that, I as an adult forget that I need to do. Like I'll overcommit, or and he's like, no, I need to stay home. And I'm like, good for you. But it's, I worried, okay, well, what about his friends, or and then through high school, because he graduated from high school at 16, but technically from Athens High School, but he took a total of 3 classes at the high school. All the rest were credits through the dual credit through classes at OU, at CC Plus. Right. So he did, but I was like, don't you want to go to prom or be in clubs? No.
We just talked about those things last night at dinner.
Yeah. And what's Abby saying?
Abby says maybe with my friends, but I'm okay if I don't.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's so yes. So he finished all his coursework for high school last year, and then because he was 16, and he applied to colleges, but he knew he wanted to go away somewhere, and then he also had once decisions came in, he was like, you know what, none of these seem quite right. I don't feel like I'm quite ready to take this step, move far away, and make those changes. And so he took a year off. He did volunteer work. He worked a job earning some money, and he spent a lot of time teaching his younger siblings how to play games.
I love that you allowed him to have that.
And
that gap year.
He's had a gap year at home, and then now he's ready.
Feels ready.
Yeah, and it's
Are
good.
you ready to have him be that far away?
I was thrilled that he chose, of his two final options, there was University of Oregon and then Reed College, which is also in Oregon. And I was thrilled when he chose University of Oregon because it starts a month later. So I get one more month before he goes.
That's in Eugene, right?
Yes.
Eugene, the Ducks.
Yes. So I've been getting email introduction with DUCK, but now he's talking about I'm so ready to go back to school. I'm ready to be in classes, and because he had spent 4 years taking pretty much a full load of college classes, it was I think probably very healthy for him to have a break from that. But it's reminded him of how much he likes it though too.
Okay.
So now he's ready.
Well, I want to ask about him going into a classroom as a 13-year-old.
I wanted to ask
At
that
a
as
minimum
well.
of 18, but probably
Right.
some even older. How did he just no big deal?
Yeah, he for him as a 13-year-old, I think in some ways there was kind of an ego boost because he would finish exams before a lot of the 18 and 20-year-olds.
Oh my goodness.
And then my husband knew some of the college kids, and they would say, "Was that your son who's in my chemistry class?" And he's always been very comfortable with just who he is, and it didn't bother him at all to be the kid amongst these adults, and because the social life of college doesn't happen in the classroom,
Right.
there wasn't too much of a concern for me as far as what exposure or and I mean he was there to learn physics or chemistry or Latin, and he
stayed focused. On that.
And I mean as a current college student, there's really not a lot of social time in the class, and so then I mean he didn't become friends with the college students. He still had his friend group, and he was just there for school, but it was and we lived close enough that he could walk, so he walked on his own back and forth to classes, and it was good.